Okay, let's start up then and see if there's someone else coming in maybe later on. I'm Leo De Geer from SHL in Sweden, doing training in the whole region, both in English and Swedish, and I understand Danish and Norwegian fully, but I don't speak it. So that's why I'm using English here. And our audience on the YouTube is 95.9%, I would say, would be using English. So for their sake, I'm using English here. I'm a trainer certified since 2007 with the trainer license number 3. So I was on the first trainer course for MikroTik. I was doing trainings prior to that 2 years because there was no training. There was no training materials from MikroTik, and I saw that a lot of customers needed training to actually be able to use this equipment. I'm today doing certification trainings on all levels that you could have. I have them all myself and been doing that for a little bit more than 10 years in the company of the SHL. We also distribute it for Sweden. We're sending out to Denmark also. I'm going to have a small presentation on IPv6, how to get it up and running even if your upstream provider is not ready for it. Both if you have sent out IP addresses from RIPE or if you just want to have it enabled in your home or in your office, you could actually do that together with Hurricane Electric for free. And that's what we're going to show here. It's going to be done towards my routers back home, as I already have a Hurricane Electric pairing up in my head office in my core. So everything from here is actually going to be done live towards my core sitting in Sweden. And we're going to get IP addresses from that one down here. That's the plan. So we're going to use Hurricane Electric. Actually, I have that upstream. From the beginning, I couldn't get my upstream provider to provide me with connectivity on IP version 6. And this was about 2 years ago I started with it. As of February this year, I have 2 full feeds directly with my upstream providers, but I still kept my Hurricane Electric as a backup failover, because seeing that the core network actually failing on IP version 6 sometimes. So actually I'm pulling it down directly from Hurricane Electric as a backup. And we're going to use an internal OSPF version 3. Actually this is my gateway down here, and as you see, same thing as Janis was telling before, you can actually use the small units to do your labs. As IP version 6 is not more than a little bit more than 26,000 routes, it actually fits the full feed in this small 962. And on top of that, I have a 952, the HAP Lite, as a client to that one. That's only going to be using for actually doing an OSPF to show that you could actually easily get it to run further down in your network. So when we're ending up with this, I'm going to be sitting on the back one and do IP version 6 all the way out to Hurricane Electric. That's the plan in the end. But before we do that, we need to start thinking about a couple of things that's called security. Are you all thinking about security before you do anything? How many? Hand up, please. Okay, that was good. Oh, thanks. But there is a couple of things. Dual sign-in. You have Google Authenticator. That's implemented both in Hurricane Electric and RIPE. Use it. Especially on the RIPE account. As in the RIPE account, you do all the route certifications and all those things. If that one gets hacked, a spammer can use your IP series and say that's theirs. They could hijack your IP, even for those one using the certification. And that's a proper certificate signed by RIPE. So if they trust that one, everyone would trust it. For God's sake, lock it down. Google Authenticator changes a 6-digit once a minute in your mobile phone. There's no excuse not using it. Same thing with Hurricane Electric. In the account of your Hurricane Electric is where you do your BGP pairing with Hurricane Electric. Your IP on your side, they could move your IP to somewhere else. So please use it. You have the resource certification at RIPE. You go in there, tell that these IPs are coming from this AES number. It's yours. If someone steals that, they could say that it comes from another AES number, and it would be trusted. It's even worse. So you do your ROA, you do your route object into the database, because that database is actually pulled out by some routers, not all of them. As of version 7, MikroTik says they are going to check towards that one. So it's an extra external security for you. When it comes to BGP peering, you could do this without BGP with Hurricane Electric, but I'm going to do the hard way doing it with BGP. It's not hard. It takes less than 45 minutes to do it on the presentation live here. But you need to do some things to get able to do an IPv6 directly with BGP. You need to put into your AES number who is actually technical admin. And that's admin C and tech C in the database before you send them an email saying, I want to peer with you guys. Once you've done that, it takes less than 2 days for them to enable the peering with them. And you create your tunnel in their homepage, and that you could actually do directly. So here's the page you go into. You say what IP version 4 endpoint IP you have on your side. You put in your AES number, what prefixes is going to be announced, and where in the world you want to announce it. You will have Hong Kong, Frankfurt, London, US somewhere, also US and US. That's just the places in the world where you actually want to do these towards. You're going to get different IPs to work with. That's the only thing on your side. But this is boring with PowerPoint, so let's get rid of it. There we are. I'm just going to do like this so you see the same screen as I'm doing. Oh. This is my HAP AC sitting here. As we're sitting in a hotel with internal IPs and all those shit in the way, I needed to do a small PPTP connection. It's just to do my IP version 4 out of the house and have a control of the IPs. Normally this would be sitting on a public IP, so that would not be a problem. But in this case I'm fooling a little bit. So let's do this then. The first thing we need to do is put up a IP version 6 to 4 tunnel. It's done in this one. You give it your name that you want to have, you put your local IP address and your remote address for that tunnel. In this case, this is handed out on my PPTP tunnel, so I'm in control of our IPs. That's the main reason for doing that in this case. Normally it would be the IP of Hurricane Electric on the remote side and your public IP on the outside of it. That's step number 1. Second of all, on that one, we need to have IPs on it, because now it's just crap. It's just a dead link between 2 points. So we go into IP addresses on IP version 6 now. And for some reason, someone thought that numbers thrown up in the air and come back down with the colons in between is understandable. It's not, but it's IP version 6. So in this case, I have on my tunnel, I'm having a 2A05 colon B880. Oh crap. I did these IPs before to save time and not typing it wrong. But it's not that complicated. You have your signing out, Hurricane Electric is going to give you the IPs for you, so it's just a matter of cut and paste and put it in. They actually even give you on their homepage the script that you loaded straight into the MikroTik in Hurricane Electric homepage. So same thing there. There's not really an excuse not doing it. I put that one up on my side. I've also put a 07 address on my bridge, so actually I'm having IP version 6 here locally now, but it's still not out in the world. So that's the next part. We need to announce these ones to the world. that we do with BGP. So I have my BGP appearing. I also have put in my instance, and in this case I'm actually running towards my public AS number. In this case it's 44746. I have put up a pairing and I'm using that one. So on the other side of my pairing here, I have put in an IP. In this case it's been 2A05 and so on and so on. I put what the remote AS number is, and it's actually the same as I'm having, so I'm going to have a distance of 200 on it afterwards. I have a TCP key on this one. Same thing there. If you do anything over the net, you should secure it. So that means that you need to really see that you actually have a handshake with an MD5 on the connection. That's an extra security for yourself. It's there for your sake. And on the advanced tab here, I need to enable IPv6. In this case, I'm not even interested in IPv4, because if I would do this on this one, I would need 500 meg in RAM, and I don't have it. So in this case, we just enable this one, and it says directly established. And we're going to wait a while and going to start counting here, and giving us a prefix count here. It takes roughly 1-2 minutes on these small units to actually start waking up. The other side is a 1072. It's already wakened since a month ago. You see now? Oh, now comes prefix counts. It's 27 already. And in IPv6, it's not that many routes, so we could actually show it. It starts running in. At the same time, we're actually announcing our own network out. So we're actually announcing towards my home router, we're announcing. And that we do together with network settings and aggregate. It says already here is 2 routes. It's aggregating because I have 2 routes sitting in this one already. We have the one that's the link out. You remember we put an IP on that one. And we have the internal one that ends with the 07. And they are actually combined down to a /29, because on BGP you don't want to announce all small networks that you have. You want to have 1 big or 2 big network that you're sending out. And this is to help the rest of the world not to consume too much memory. Because the bigger routing table it is being downloads all over the place. The more routes, the bigger memory is going to be used. So from RIPE side, they want us to keep it as big as possible, but not bigger than you need. I'm assigned a /29, so I'm aggregating /29. 1 row for everything I do. I don't know how many million IPs it is, but it's a lot. So far we have now a working IPv6 here on my laptop. I would think so, at least. Let's try and see if we do a ping to, you know, this came.net? Came was one of the first one working with IPv6. They made a homepage with a turtle on the top. That if you have IPv6, it's swimming. Otherwise, they just show you it's supposed to swim. So we do ping came.net. And it's still saying an IPv4. And it's going to do that a while. Because this is a Windows machine, it doesn't find out the IPv6 very quickly. Sometimes it goes directly and sometimes it comes a little bit later. But we want to have the rest of our network. For the moment it's only this one. But this is my home office and this is my head office. I want to have IPv6 on both. Don't you agree? If you do it in one place, you want to have it all over the place. That we do together with OSPF. And in this case, it's actually OSPF version 3. You start up by doing a setting of your instance. You have the name of it. Normally it's default. If we put the router ID of 000, it's going to take the lowest IP on your router as its ID name automatically. You don't need to bother about it. I'm redistributing default route because I'm going to send that down to next router in my network. That should only be done on the first one, actually your gateway. If you have one in your network, keep with that one, don't go further. And I'm redistributing connected routes. All the routes that's on my router needs to be redistributed for the rest of the network to work. Next part in OSPF version 3, in version the normal standard OSPF, you do actually, same second as you put in the IP series, it's going to start announcing talking OSPF on that interfaces that has those IP addresses. In OSPF version 3, you actually need to specify what interfaces are going to talk OSPF. In this case, I want to have the bridge talking. I'm putting a priority of 1 on this one. That's actually the lowest one you could have except 0. If you have 0, it's not going to try to become a master. In this case, should be the master, so actually I should put in 255. Then it's not asking anyone else to become the master, and it's just going to say, I'm the master, fuck off for the rest, more or less. So we enable that one. It's now talking OSPF on my network. The rest of my routers are not for the moment. So let's unplug this one and go back to the next one. I'm very quick driving. I'm driving from the head office to my home office, 300 kilometers in 30 seconds. That's called a warp drive. And one sitting in the front maybe realized I was clicking on the IP version 6 address, not the IP version 4. So now we need to see here, do we have any routes in IP version 6? No, I only have one row in IP version 6. You see that? And that's actually the local one. So we need to get that one up and running. So let's go for IP version 3. I want to have the local interface up. Otherwise that IP series is not going to go out or further down. And I want to have my external interface. By the way, on this one here, it says priority 0. You see that? Because I don't want to have this one to become a master by mistake. And in the bottom now it says designate the router other in the bottom. Because it's actually saying that the other side is doing the job for it. And voila! You see? We got the addresses up here in the routing table. So let's see if we now have IP version 6 again. No. This is a Windows problem. It's going to take about half an hour for this Windows machine to understand that it's actually doing this, because it's doing the DNS has cached the IP version 4 address. So if we do like this, let's see, we take another one.
If you do a flush DNS,
it should take it, yeah. No, it still doesn't. Even this one that should haven't been in. I think I need to double check a thing here. It says that it doesn't have IP version 6 and it still has it, you see? Something has done at my machine that was half an hour working and now all of a sudden not. So let's clear it. It was much easier on the older versions than version 10 of Microsoft. Let me see. Everything is there. Yeah. And it has its route, so that should be it. There we have it. Yeah, it's there. But there's one address missing somewhere. Let me see. No, it should be there. Let's try again. I don't know what my computer is doing for the moment. It was tested this morning and it worked perfect. This is the magic of presentations. This is the setup. The machine actually has the IP version 6 and 4 on it, and everything is announced. And as you see, it actually have the announcement in the routes. If I reboot my computer, it's probably going to work, but it's take a little bit too long for this presentation. This is the steps you need to do for actually enabling it on your head office and your home office at the same go. It took us, including all discussions and everything, 25 minutes. How many is going to go home and do it directly when they get home? It's a fun play, at least. And I was on the RIPE meeting here in Copenhagen during this week. It's just a couple of years left. Then there's not going to be handed out new IPs from RIPE to customers in the region of RIPE. You need to go out and buy your IPs. For the moment, the price is roughly $14 per IP. When those IPs are ending, it's going to be more, I promise you. So it could be a good idea to go out now and start buying IPs. That's all for me. Any questions? Except why it's not working on my computer? Any questions? Was that clear? The presentation is going to be available on the homepage. There's also going to be more slides than the one you saw in the presentation here. I'm also going to be here in the location the whole day. So if you have any questions, I'll be standing just on the other side of this wall. I also do trainings both in Denmark and Sweden. So if there is anyone that's interested in training, either that I'm coming here or you're coming to a seat on my location, it's just a matter of talk to me. Have a nice afternoon, and lunch I think is soon. This is interesting. I'm getting an endless lookup of the IP version 6 address, but it still uses the IP version 4 for some reason.
Yeah, you should bring something with Unix.
Sometimes you have no choice. I hope you learned something at least.